With 903 horsepower at the back wheels and going as quick as a 971 at 161 miles an hour on an unprepped strip, the Porsche behind me is easily one of the key sleepers here at the Flying 500. I'm here with the owner, Arthur, to find out a little bit more about what makes this car so fast. Now, these cars never rolled off the factory showroom floor with anything like this sort of power. How did you end up deciding that you wanted to build a 900 horsepower monster out of this Porsche?
It started over the years. I ended up hurting the original engine, and then after that I started building it up with a 3.6, started off, and then slowly, bigger turbos, manifolds, all that sort of stuff, and started putting more boost in it, and this is where we ended up.
And that's a real slippery slope, but let's come back to the start. Did this come off the showroom floor as a turbocharged model?
No, this is a 491 model. It's called the Carrera Supersport. That's why I've got Carrera SS at the back. And it came with a 3.2 naturally aspirated, with all the turbo body and turbo brakes and everything else.
So this is the wide body that we normally see on the turbo?
That's right, yeah. It's an original wide body off a turbo, yeah.
Give us an indication of sort of what power level these were in factory form.
Originally, it had 230 horsepower.
Okay, a far cry from where we are right now.
Very much so, yeah.
Now, these are also an air-cooled engine, which is quite unique. I'm interested, what sort of challenges are there in getting this sort of power level reliably out of an air-cooled engine?
Engine management is one. The fuel to cool it down, because it can get hot really quick. And then once you get the heat soak in it, then it's very hard to get it out. So you've got to be careful of that.
So we can see the cooling fan that is belt driven on the engine. So airflow over the barrels is obviously one aspect, but what you just mentioned there, I think is key. We're actually using fuel in an air-cooled engine to help internally cool the engine, correct?
Yeah, fuel plus oil. Oil is the major one. It's running 2 oil coolers in it right behind the headlights. As big as you possibly can fit, and that keeps the oil temperature down to 90 degrees, and that helps it a lot.
Okay, so the oil and fuel is one element of cooling the engine, keeping it reliable, but still just physically the strength of the engine. So what have you done in terms of aftermarket parts here with the barrels, etc., to support the sort of power levels you're making?
Yeah, the barrels are Nikasil barrels, 102 mil. They come from the States, from LM Engineering.
So these are non-Porsche parts now?
Non-Porsche parts. The Conrods are Argo Conrods from Newcastle. The crank is a GT3 RS crankshaft. The heads are billet heads from CMW. And then it's got all the valve gear and all that. Rams do the servicing on the heads. And camshafts are from the States, from Dalwoody camshafts. And the rockers are powder rockers.
These engines have obviously seen a huge amount of development over the years. I mean, there is a fairly well-trodden path, maybe not to 900 horsepower at the wheels, but there is a good availability of aftermarket parts to support this sort of power level?
No, not really. You have to do a lot of homework to get it to there. You can buy the parts, but they're not going to work to get there. You'll get to 600-700 horsepower, no problem. Then after that, that's when all the problems start.
Let's talk a little bit more about the barrel. So with these Porsche engines, the barrels are sort of individual. You can sort of replace individual components. Now, am I right in assuming here that these barrels are thicker in the sleeve than the factory Porsche part?
Oh yeah, there are. They're very much thicker and more fins on them as well.
Okay, so more fins, more cooling, thicker barrels, still Nikasil coated, which is a coating that goes directly on the aluminium that allows the rings to run on them without just wearing through the sleeve. I'm interested, is there an option to go to a ductile iron sleeve, which would be more conventional in most engines?
No, they haven't made them as such. This is what you can buy.
You mentioned the aftermarket heads as well. I mean, that's really the key to the airflow. The block itself's just there to support the power levels, but it's airflow in and out of the engine that's going to make the power. You know, how much of an improvement do you see in these heads versus what was on the car when it rolled off the showroom floor?
Oh, there's massive difference, big difference in price and also in flow and all the parts that go with it. It has the best parts that you can possibly throw at a set of heads. Yeah. And like I said, Rams put them together and flowed them and did everything that they had to do to them, and that's it.
All right. Turbocharger, obviously another key to actually making the power, and I think off camera you mentioned you've gone through a few iterations, which is understandable over the years. What have you sort of gravitated towards at the moment on the vehicle?
Well, at the moment it's running 83, 85 precision turbo, and that's the one that seems to be working the best.
And what sort of boost level are you using to make that 900 wheel horsepower? And where do you sort of see usable power band? Sort of what RPM does it start? What RPM do you rev it to?
Well, it starts coming in at 4,000. It's all in at 5, so it's like a light switch. It all comes on together, and we rev it out to about 7,800.
Okay, so that's actually quite a tight power band, which sort of leads me to the next part of the puzzle. Obviously, the drivetrain reliability is key here, and I can't imagine a stock G50 5-speed box managing this sort of power. What have you done with the drivetrain?
Drivetrain, it has billet axles in it, so they're all done out to 32 spline. All the shafts have been changed. CV joints are still original 930 CV joints, so they handle the power no problems. I change them regularly, so that's probably why they last. The gearbox is a 996 with all Holinger sequential gears in it, so it's a sequential gearbox.
Okay, and of course engine management as well. What are you running there?
Well, we started off with the Autronic, and we've stayed with the Autronic, so it's been working really good. Data acquisition through the Autronic is a little bit harder than usual, than like anybody else has these days. I mean, but then again, I started doing this 10, 15 years ago, so.
I mean, that Autronic brand, a lot of people probably these days may not have heard of it. Quite an old brand from Australia, but saw a lot of success. It was at one point the control ECU, I believe, in the Australian Supercars series. So it's certainly no slouch, but these days maybe ECUs have moved on. Is this a case of if it isn't broken, don't fix it?
Yeah, that's right. It's running at 100% at all times, and to acquisition more data, I just put an AEM Dash in it, data logging it, and I get more information. That's all we need it for.
Now, in terms of intercooling, turbo Porsches do run off the factory showroom floor, and these models were generally air-cooled. You've gone water cooling. What was the reason behind that?
Room and better cooling. So it was just something that I wanted to do that way. This is the second manifold that I built for it. Plasman has helped a lot with the manifold. And just made the water tank for it, radiator, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we just stayed with the water cooled.
Coming from my own drag racing background, one of the advantages for a very specific form of motorsport, drag racing or roll racing, is with a water-cooled intercooler, you can use ice to sort of get it down below ambient at the start of the run. Are you doing that, or is it just packaging?
No, it doesn't need it. It holds the inlet manifold temperature at max RPM at 50 degrees. So I haven't had to use ice in it at this stage. So we get hotter days, we might have to.
Okay. And fuel system, let's talk through that. I'm assuming you're not running on pump gas at 38 pound a boost.
No, we're running on E85 from Power Plus, and we're running two 1,000 horsepower weld-ons, and the prime pump is a Bosch 044.
Okay. All right, great to get some insight into the car. We watched it run last night in some practice runs, and the thing is an absolute sleeper. We wish you all the best for competition today.
No worries, thank you guys.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.